Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Friday, April 29th, 2022. And our top story today, pump prices edge higher on oil market volatility. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Ellen Edmonds is with AAA. Ellen, it's great to see you back in the office, I see. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yes. Hi, Jeffrey. It's so nice to be with you too. And yep, back in the office, trying to get back to normal.
Well, what is normal these days?
Right.
I guess it, normal is, what you make of it. Ellen, it's always a pleasure having you and your colleague, Andrew Gross, on the network, talk about so many different things. Let's start off talking about gas prices. And this is something that has bedazzled, if I can use that word, Americans for quite some time. I think back in the fall and into today, seeing rising gas prices, and there's a lot behind that. How are you and the folks at AAA seeing gas prices and, more importantly, oil market volatility?
Yeah, so we've really been on a roller coaster since the beginning of the year, but I think we really saw the peak of it in early March when prices just kind of soared within a week's time, and we hit that historic $4 mark that we haven't seen in quite some time. So today, the national average is $4.14. That's about 2 cents more than last week. So it is creeping up. We've seen it edge back and creep up, but we are seeing it a little more volatile. There's continued concerns really about the Russian oil supply. And then, of course, we've got some lockdowns going on in China that could have some economic effects. So we're keeping an eye on things. We, don't try to predict it too far out, just because, as you mentioned, that volatility is almost impossible to predict. So we're keeping tabs on it. But it's definitely at a level that none of us have seen in quite some time. And it's sustained that level, which I think is probably, really, consumers are really feeling it at the pump right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I wanted to ask you about savings. You mentioned the price of food going up. I think the war in Ukraine is a huge wheat producer, so that's having an impact on food. Also, I think Russia produces, I want to say fertilizer, something that's really driving up the cost for food production. In any event, I know you and the folks at AAA always have great tips for people trying to mitigate these things, and it's really hard. Look, but what are some things we can be doing to minimize the cost at the pump for us?
Yeah, there's some really simple things. And as you mentioned, it's not just gas that's up. Inflation is at a 40-year high. So, you're looking for savings in any way. And so some things that we recommend, again, really simple things. You can start doing this right now. A lot of it has to do with your driving habits. The way you drive really impacts your fuel economy. So you start with the tires. If your tires are underinflated, that can impact your fuel economy by as much as 5%. And so 5% in normal times may not feel like a lot, but right now, every penny counts. So making sure they're properly inflated, just check that when you fill up or even at home in your driveway. And then also look at your routes. Can you combine errands? Can you, make sure you're not backtracking? Try to really consolidate the type of driving that you're doing as far as when you're out and about. Can you work from home a little bit more? Do you have to go into the office several days a week? If you can have that option of remote, take advantage of that. That'll help reduce your fuel costs as well. And then, watch what you're putting in your car. Don't overload it. Don't weigh it down. That's going to put a drag on it. And depending on, where you live, this may not always be an option, but 50 miles per hour for most vehicles is kind of a sweet spot with fuel economy. So if you can kind of keep in that moderate level of speed, you actually will help improve how much, gas you're getting out of your mileage. But you have to be sure that you're not I live somewhere where there's a major highway. And if I went 50, I would probably be a safety hazard. So definitely take into consideration your environment. But if you're able to maybe take some local roads or maybe a more scenic route, we would recommend that's sort of the perfect place to be. And then, of course, if you're going on a road trip, a longer trip, map it out. AAA has, everyone knows the trip tick. It's digital. You can go on there, map out your route, see where the stations are. Sometimes if you're able to wait, you can get a better price in another city. Gas prices are different from coast to coast. So those are just a few things that you can do right now to help reduce that cost a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell you, no one goes 50 miles an hour on I-95, Ellen. And if you do, you're
No.
right. They're going to be honking at you, whether you're in
Right.
Florida, Maryland, or New York or Boston. They're
Correct.
going to be honking at you. Let me ask you a question. And
Sure.
we spoke to your colleague back when the supply chain issues were happening and started. I think it was last year. We spoke to Andrew. Difficulty getting cars, new cars. And I'm wondering if you're seeing, and this is just anecdotal, I'm not saying you probably don't have this data handy, and just for the audience's benefit, the guests never know what questions I'm going to ask, but it just got me thinking now, is now the time to look for an electric vehicle or maybe a hybrid type of vehicle given these prices? Or is it something that just given supply chain challenges, maybe it's something you put in your back pocket so that when you're up for a new vehicle, you say, okay, maybe I explore the hybrid a little bit?
Yeah, I would say supply chain issues are still very much a thing, especially in the car buying world. I mean, again, we're seeing it everywhere, but I would say that industry has been hit pretty hard. But it is a great time to think about electric. If that's something you've been sort of toying with the idea of maybe going green, automakers are putting a lot of money and effort behind offering more models, larger variety of choice, all price ranges. People tend to think of one specific type of electric vehicle and they may think, oh, I'm priced out of that. That's not for me, but there are a lot of options. And so now is a really good time. We did do a survey earlier this year and the tipping point, for people, gas being too expensive is actually $4. So it's not a bad time to think about it, test drive one, see what you think. And then if it makes sense, purchase one. But if not, definitely, I think a lot of people are going to start thinking about it because if you look at a chart, of electricity prices versus gas prices, that electricity line is a lot more stable than the gas price line. And I think, a lot of what we're hearing, especially with looking at cutting edge vehicle technology, electric really is going to be the future. So we would encourage people to definitely at least check it out, start learning about it. We have a lot of great resources and research we've done if people have questions. But yeah, I think it's the right time. Gas is always going to be something that fluctuates.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Ellen, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about booking travel for Memorial Day. We've got some tips about when you start and what you need to do. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-504-8194
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Ellen Edmonds of AAA, who's now back in the office, at least part-time. Ellen, great to see you. Thanks so much for sticking with us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
All right, let's talk about Memorial Day, and it's not that far off. Honors our, pays homage to our nation's veterans, those that made the ultimate sacrifice, but it's also time for Americans traditionally to get away. I know you and the folks at AAA have some tips on when to book travel and what to do, what not to do.
Yeah, so, Memorial Day is the official start to summer. And I think, the last few years that has not been as official of a start to summer because people have been really not sure if they could travel or they should travel. So I think going into this summer, people are feeling a little more confident. But yes, the best thing we can recommend to people right now is planning. Plan. You cannot plan early enough for your travel, whether it's Memorial Day or even if you're looking further out into the summer, maybe it's July 4th and beyond, and you want to plan some travel. We are recommending to start looking now. With regards to Memorial Day specifically, we're kind of in the right window. Airfare is definitely skewing higher. Right now, the average price is about $445 a ticket. That is about $130 higher than last year. So now is a great time to, if you're planning on flying anywhere, look at those prices, get it locked in. It's probably not going to come down the closer we get to Memorial Day. Within a week, some people think I'm going to wait last minute, get that great deal. That might have been the case in the past, but definitely not this year. We're looking at almost double prices as you're getting within that 6-day window towards Memorial Day. So definitely start planning now.
And I would imagine the fuel prices we talked about in the first segment, that is possibly going to be a surcharge added on to on airlines. I mean, the airlines have traditionally done a pretty good job of buying futures and planning for some of those things, but I don't know if you can plan for where we are today with war and supply chain issues.
Yeah, that's very true. You're going to see that impact. You'll see it at the pump for your vehicle, and you will definitely see it with air travel. Because as you mentioned, air carriers are very good about planning for that sort of thing. But, the things that we've been experiencing since early March are very unique and different. There's a lot of other external factors that are coming into play. So, there's definitely going to be surcharges. Demand is going to be higher than we've seen in the past. They're still facing staff shortages that they're trying to work through. There may be weather delays. So there's a lot of different things that airlines are trying to contend with to make sure that they can get people to where they want to go. So the more that you can plan and kind of look ahead and be prepared, be flexible, flexibility is key right now with travel. You really have to be willing to maybe travel at an off-peak time, a different day, doing what you need to do to get the best price and kind of getting to your destination.
Let's talk a little bit about travel insurance. And there's always that when you click on an airline site, they always ask you, do you want to buy travel insurance? And given all the circumstances with COVID, there's been delays in flights because they can't get pilots or they can't get staff or planes or whatever the issue is in particular to that airline. Is now the time to buy that travel insurance? We had talked last year with Andrew and yourself. It was really important during the height of the COVID pandemic to do that. Does that still stand?
Absolutely. And, the little box you check is helpful, but we would even recommend taking it a step further. Travel insurance is the first thing you should be thinking about when you book a trip, whether it's now, during COVID, in the future. It is just something, people spend and save for a long time for vacations, and they plan them out, and they're, intended to be these really special experiences. So why not protect that investment at the very start? A travel agent, that's something also that we recommend. They're excellent experts. They're in the field. They know a lot about these types of products because travel insurance has a lot of nuances. It depends on your personal situation, where you're going, what kind of insurance you have right now, and kind of where that fits into that picture. So if you work with a travel agent, they can look at the trip you're taking, all the other factors that come into play, and really suggest the best policy for you. They're minimal in cost for what you get in return. And especially, like you said, with, possible disruptions, if you get stuck in a location or a destination that is maybe like an destination between two places that you're going, you may need a hotel, a car rental. Travel insurance helps with all of those types of things. If you have to suddenly cancel because you or someone in your party gets sick, there's so many different circumstances that can happen. The pandemic, I think, brought a lot of that to light. And so it was really top of mind. But as we're sort of easing back on some of that. It's also easy to forget. So we would just reiterate, definitely always think about travel insurance. It's so important. And it's not something you never hear someone say they regret they bought it, but you definitely hear people say a lot that they regret that they didn't get it. So definitely check it out before planning your trip.
Yeah, Ellen, and you mentioned travel advisors, travel agents, we used to call them back in the day. They're kind of making a comeback. They add a lot of value, as you said. And look, before the pandemic and all this logistical and itinerary changes, maybe you could have a more streamlined approach and go through the website and do it on your own. But having that person or persons, that team there to help you, it's always good to make a phone call, and sometimes you even can't even get through to the airline. So these travel agents have a way to kind of figure it all out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. They're advocates. I mean, that's how you should think of them. A travel agent that helps you book and plan a trip is your advocate. If you get into a situation where your flight is canceled, delayed, something else happens at your destination, you call them and they handle all of that logistics so that you don't have to spend the time, the energy, the stress of trying to figure it out. They have those direct connections, those direct lines. Also, with things costing more, like we were talking about earlier, they are really good and effective at looking at, okay, here's your budget for your trip, and here are all the things you can do within that budget. They may know about deals that are not necessarily accessible to the public. They know the right place to send you for that. You could still have a really nice trip. Just because you have a budget doesn't mean you can't go somewhere wonderful and have a great time. So 100% a travel agent is something that's invaluable. Like I said, they're experts. Most of them travel. I know our agents do. They know these destinations, they know where to go, they can make great recommendations. So not just thinking about sort of what can go wrong, but like what can go right. They can definitely help on that front as well.
Last question. Is it still, the mental aspect of getting to the airport? I always get a little stressed. I'm timeliness. To me, it's always about timeliness. And do people have to have certain expectations when heading to the airport? Take time to allow for the Uber, the Lyft, parking, the tram, getting to the right terminal, getting through security if you don't have TSA pre or clear. That mental aspect is probably going to be very helpful.
Absolutely, especially as we head into Memorial Day, because that is going to be a very busy weekend. And I would say the weekends following will be throughout the summer. So we recommend getting to the airport about 2 hours before your flight leaves for domestic and 3 hours for international. And so depending on how far you live from the airport, you'll want to, like you said, add in that time as well, the travel time from your home to the airport. And then that 2 hours or 3 hours should help you get through security, get your bags checked, all the things that you need to do, and kind of comfortably get on your flight so you're not having to do that Home Alone running through the airport. One of my favorite scenes, and they're just trying to get to their flight. You definitely don't want to start your vacation off on that note.
Yeah, you don't want to wind up like this.
Right. You don't want to leave your son behind, and you don't want to be running to your flight. So
there you go. Ellen Emmons,
right,
it's a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks so much for joining us, stopping by, and we look forward to having you and AAA back on the program again very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives? Check out our latest content. We'll visit our website and our streaming partners like Amazon, Roku, Samsung, over 100 to choose from. We're back again tomorrow for a look back on BRN Weekly. We'll be taking a look back at some of our best segments and contributors for the week. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.